Welcome back to Networking with Nathaniel. This is episode 21. We are in 2024 as of um, the disbursement of this video. It's still 2023 for Houston and I. I have the pleasure of being here with Houston Becquet. I just learned how to say your last name. I hope I said it properly. We were talking about last names just before starting the recording here. Houston has been in sub two for quite a while now here. He did his first deal in March of 2023 and he has not looked back. He's doing direct to agent, and we'll get more into this, but direct to agent, kind of the no low equity lists that we will talk about here shortly. Thank you for being here, man. It's a pleasure talking to you for a second or third time now. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. There's so many blessings.
I knew
Thank
that
you
you.
so very much for having me, Daniel.
Yeah, dude. Again, I appreciate you being here, man. I look forward to hearing what you've learned over the past 8, 9 months since doing your first deal, and what you learned prior to doing that first deal as well, because I think you told me it took you a little while to get that first one under your belt, didn't it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I like to say it took me 10 years to get my first deal.
Yeah.
I purchased my first course back in 2013. It was
Okay.
or 2014 rather. It was a Cody Sperber Clever Investor course.
Mm.
And it was all about direct mail marketing. And so I went out there and I spent, like $6,000 on direct mail marketing. And I didn't even finish the course. I'm so much of like a I just take action. I just like
Mm.
I hear something and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like it works. Okay, let's go after it.
Yeah.
And so I don't even think I finished the course. And I got to the point where we're saying like, hey, like blanket a whole area with mail marketing. And so I did mass mail marketing and I sent out like, oh my gosh, like 10,000 mailers in one weekend. And so I got blown up and wasn't able to handle any of the
Oh, wow.
calls or leads or anything, and so wasn't able to capitalize on any of that. And I between the course and the marketing, I spent my entire savings.
Wow.
And so I had to go back to, well, and I was already in school at the time. So back to school, back to work, save up for another year. And then I proceeded to do that about 9 more times with different courses, different mentorships, different programs, thinking all along the way that, hey, it's just behind this
Yeah.
paywall, it's just behind this subscription, it's just behind this CRM, this software. That's what's going to make me successful.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't. It really wasn't. It took me a long time to see success, and that's because I was trying to do it all by myself.
Mm. Yeah, that is a topic that I think we're going to get deeply into. I wanna know what was it about sub two, and what turned the corner for you as far as like being able to stick to something, and maybe it is that just you weren't doing it by yourself, but I'm interested to hear.
Well, I was about to start laughing because I'm not I wasn't so I always hear all these like amazing stories of like, oh hey, like I drove 4 hours to see Pace at this meetup and he shook my hand and something came alive in me,
Yeah, the magic.
like
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And oh, I gotta get around this guy. No, it wasn't anything like that, to be honest. He was one of the only people who I hadn't bought a course from.
Mm,
And when I had gotten, word of Pace, I think I saw a video on Jerry Norton's
mm.
YouTube because I bought like two of his courses. Um, he had Pace on, and Pace was talking about buying a house with zero of your own money. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've got zero of my own money. I was like, this is
Yeah.
sounds like the right course for me. And so I literally went and I went to go buy this course just like every other course, just because it was coming up on a year. So it was
Mm.
about due to spend my
Refresh.
life
Yeah.
savings on
Yeah.
another course. And so I get on the phone with one of the member service advisors or whatever they're called. And they were like trying to convince me this was the best possible thing. And I was like, dude, you don't got to convince me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm already buying this. Like,
Yeah.
let's just figure out what this costs. And it was a pretty significant cost. So it was the most costly thing I had invested
Mm.
into to that point. And So I was hesitant, obviously, but it wasn't hesitant for the reason that most people are hesitant for. I was hesitant because I was like, okay, like, which credit cards can I put this on? How can I like shift up this like $10,000 or whatever it was
Hmm.
on like and make it as least detrimental to like
Yeah.
me as possible. Like, and so I like seller financed the whole sub two course, like
Yeah.
which was it should have been a good sign that like I was destined for success in sub two. So
Yeah.
like seller finance the whole course. I actually got the lowest payment out of anybody I know and the lowest down payment of anybody I've ever asked.
Oh, really?
So you can do that. You can seller finance anything.
Yeah.
So I got into it and I just really did the same exact thing I did with the previous 10 courses, which was I jumped in, I didn't even really finish the material, and I started, trying to copy what the people who are successful were doing, which
Hmm.
is a very, very good way to, get you close to the mark. But you really can't get all the way without getting around people that are actually doing the deals.
Hmm.
And what I realized with sub two, and the best thing about sub two for me, I mean, and there's a million amazing things in sub two. There's so much great information and all this stuff. But really, the most important thing to me was the actual community.
Yeah.
Being able to post in the group and get people commenting back, being able to go to a local meetup, which luckily here in Arizona, there's so many
Yeah.
of them,
Yeah.
and actually getting around people who are legitimately doing deals and just kind of learning by osmosis, learning, getting around them. And like I said, just literally copying what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, so 6 months into sub two, still didn't get my first deal, just kind of like tiptoeing into this. And then finally I got in touch with someone named Kevin Cho, who basically took all the guesswork out of it
Mm.
and was like, hey, I will handle everything on the back end, the underwriting, the contracts, the title work, the dispo. I will handle everything on the back end. All you have to do is call. And so for me, that was like the click.
Yeah.
All right, just do one thing and focus on it. There we go.
Yeah. Get good at it. Yeah. There's a couple things here that are definitely worth unpacking. Um, you are clearly a person of action, and I, I want to say like a little hope as well to continue each year to just empty the bank account and go with another thing and then just take action and try it. And then something with the when you first joined the sub two or were, trying to figure out how you were going to pay for this, instead of coming up with reasons why you couldn't do it, you decided, "No, I got to figure out how to do it. I'm going to make it work." So I
Yeah.
love that about you, man. And then just getting, like you said, getting around these other people that are doing things at a high level, or at least a level or two above where you're at currently, it's pretty incredible. So how long had you, I think you said 6 months. So you joined in,
So I joined October 2022.
okay.
And then I got my first deal. My first deal was actually assigned and closed on March 23rd, 2023.
Okay.
So, around 6 months or so, like 5 or 6 months
Yeah.
from my joining of Sub 2.
Okay. And this was
So,
the, oh, sorry.
no, no, please go ahead.
I was just so at this point you're kind of under Kevin Cho's wing, so to speak. You're making calls, knowing that if you're able to get somebody who's motivated, who's ready to sell, especially, subject to or something creative, you've got Kevin behind you going, we got like this deal is going to get to the finish line.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm nothing if not optimistic.
Yeah.
I for me, I just generally know things are going to work out eventually as long as I keep putting in effort.
Mm.
I didn't know how much it would take. And to be completely honest, if I knew how much work it would take to be a wholesaler to get my deals,
Mm.
to do, to run a wholesale business like I do now, I probably wouldn't have done it. I'm
Right.
just being completely honest. This
Yeah.
is way, way more work than anybody says it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, a 70 to 100 hour a week job.
Right.
And, but it's absolutely worth it However, like I said, I probably wouldn't have done it if I would have known. I'm the kind of person that's like, hey, I'm gonna figure out how to get this done, and then I'm gonna figure out how to make it more efficient so that I don't have to work as hard.
Yeah.
I'm a very hard worker, but I like to work smarter than I do harder.
Yeah.
I'll work very hard to set something up to work for me for a long time.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kept coming back to real estate, is because I was like, hey, look, even if I, figure it out in 20 years from now, like I know I want to get into real estate eventually. Whether I'm buying homes after I'm retired with, doing the Burr method, or if I build this up as I go, like I am 100% going to be in real estate. Like I
Yeah.
read a book early on in my life where it said that 80%, I think it was one of the Gary Keller books. I can't remember. I think it was like The One or something like that. Um, and he talks about one thing. I think is the name of the book. I gotta look it
Okay.
up. But he talks about how 80% of the world's millionaires are actually made through real estate.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, as I'm going through 7 years of school to get my bachelor's, I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why, like, really though, like, why am I doing this? Like, if I can go into one of these hundreds of jobs and still only have a 20% chance to be a millionaire, like, why would I not just get into real estate
Yeah.
where I have an 80% chance? Like, that's like, it seems like a no brainer to me. So for me, I always kind of fell back into real estate, knowing that that's where I want to be eventually.
Mm.
And that as long as I keep showing up, someone's going to take me seriously enough to take me under their wing. Thankfully, someone like Kevin Cho did step up, and he actually didn't take me under his wing. I actually sought him out and forced my way under
Under
his
the wing.
wing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to put the wrong notion out there. Everyone always says like, "Oh, I got my mentor." People don't people don't just like take you on as a mentee.
Right.
No. No, you've got to like earn their mentorship. At least in my experience, you have to show that you're consistent and valuable. And you don't have to be successful yet. I mean, that is what a mentor, allows you to do. However, with someone like Kevin, he's so busy. I mean, he's got, hundreds of people trying to do deals with him. So
Hmm.
what I did is I tried to be as valuable as possible. And so I took what he was giving me and I freaking went all out on it. I mean, I was calling, from 7:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night, just calling. Because to your point, Nathaniel, I knew he gave me the proof of concept that this does work. It's just a numbers game. And if I get somebody that's interested, I don't have to know everything. I can just put it in front of somebody who does know everything,
Yeah.
or at least knows more than me.
Right.
And he can guide me in the right direction. So that's what happened with Kevin.
Yeah.
Called
That's
this list
crazy.
called this list. It's a no equity a no equity sub two list. I've never actually pitched sub two. I've never called this kind of list. I mean, out of the 10 years worth of stuff I've done, I have never ever done anything like this. But I knew, I was like, hey, like if he says this works, if he's done all these deals this year, doing this, I know it works. And so I just need to fail forward essentially.
Yeah.
And so I got in front of these people and I had these conversations and I brought him right back to Kevin and he was like, he just kind of like adjusted my pitch. Hey, no, say it like this. Hey, no, pitch that. That's not a deal. We can do this. Oh, hey, if they can get it under this price, this is a deal. And that kind of chirping in my ear was all it took for me to have the false self-confidence of, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And I did it. And from there, it kind of clicked in my brain to where, oh my gosh, like all I needed was somebody to, kind of give me like that. It's like almost like when I don't know if you've ever, okay, you said you've been in the Marine, so you've done some crazy stuff.
Yeah. Huh.
I have friends that do like cliff jumping and stuff,
Okay.
and I'm not like a crazy person like this. Like I go along for the ride. So I'll cliff jump, but I'm not doing any crazy flips or, and I'm not usually doing it first. I want
Yeah.
somebody else to jump, come up and be like, yeah, it was fun. It was good. And
Right.
then I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. Like, hey, he didn't die. I'm not going to die.
Yeah. I saw
So
where he landed down
I
there. I'm gonna
saw
hit that spot
exactly
right
where he
there.
landed.
Yeah.
I got to hit that spot.
Yeah.
So by no means am I like the first one out the gates on this thing. And I want to explain this to everybody else too. Like, you don't have to be the first one out the gate. Like, you don't even have to be experienced in what you're trying to do. Just get around people that have that experience and let their expertise shine through you. And I mean, you were literally just basically the R&D is what I keep hearing. Like, oh, you're just doing R&D, which
Yeah.
is, rip off and duplicate.
Yeah.
And so you're just emulating who it is you're trying to be like, doing exactly what they're doing, and you're bound for success.
Yeah. They've essentially created a wheel and you just got to push the wheel. Figure out how,
Mhm.
like, don't try to make it a square now. Just push the
Exactly.
darn wheel.
Just push the darn wheel. Don't
Yeah.
don't don't sit back and try to conceptualize and, hey,
Right.
maybe if we shaved off a little bit over here, it would be a little
Yeah.
bit more efficient. You've never pushed the damn wheel.
Yeah.
Just push the wheel, and then you can try to make your own wheel more efficient. But
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
No.
that's where I think we should head to now because you've explained how you like to work hard to make things more efficient and eventually be able to take the pack off a little bit.
Hmm.
So it's December. So you've been doing this for 9 months now, since you had your first deal, I should say. Not doing it
Hmm.
for 9 months, but it's been 9 months since you had your first deal. And you've probably learned a lot of skills here because you are hosting, I think it's a weekly Zoom, right? Or is it
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
daily
So
Zoom?
so it's a 4 days a week,
Okay.
just like a live Zoom open office hours kind of
Yeah.
thing. Hmm.
And you're making phone calls
Hmm.
and people can come join. Are they bringing you leads or that? Or are they just kind of hanging out listening to how you're talking? Like what's that kind of look like? Because I haven't been able
So
to join one yet.
So some people do come in and just kind of hang out and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're all at different stages in our development. I mean, like I said, it took me 10 years to get my first
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
So I've got no problem with people just hanging out, but we do kind of encourage people to come in and make a call with the kind of comfort of knowing that, hey, we're right here, we got your back.
Mhm.
My partner or my friend Dana and I will usually be in there and kind of just, typing stuff into the chat, basically like steering them into the right direction and getting them to, say the right things,
Yeah.
poke the right questions. And it just basically as like I like to call it like calling with a safety net. Cause I picture like those big old safety nets outside of like the Chinese factories where
Hmm.
like, hey,
Yeah.
like even if you're, working in an unsafe condition and you like accidentally fall, which you're going to fall, there's a safety net there. Like, you
Yeah.
don't gotta, like, you're not falling far. You're not falling and hitting the ground.
Yeah.
So it's just a live office hours where people can come in. I'm gonna be making my calls. I'm a closer in my business, so I'm gonna be making my calls, and going to be breaking them down afterwards, as well as kind of answering questions and doing call calibrations
Mm.
and underwriting. So basically, just what it takes to run a wholesaling business. Um, and I'm going to be doing it anyways, so I might as well have people come in and observe or ask me questions.
Yeah, I love that. Is that and what time? And you said 4 days a week. Is that Monday through
Yep.
Thursday?
Yep. Monday through
Okay.
Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Arizona time.
Yep.
And then I'll send you the link.
And it's a permanent, it's always the same link.
Oh, it's always the same
Cool.
link. It's a permanent link. I've been doing it now for like 4 months. And I started as just like a consistency thing for
Yeah.
myself. And then now it's grown into so much more than that. So it's been really fun.
I think we had when we first start talked, I think you had just kind of launched it and we're
Just kind of
doing it.
launched it. Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's awesome. Do you have, I mean, you've already dropped so many things. Uh, Going direct to agent can be almost more nerve-wracking because
Hmm.
for a new person because now they're talking to this other person who's an expert in the field.
Yep.
What if any tips do you have that might can help somebody just kind of make that first phone call and Um, I don't
This is
want to
a
be able to
really
say.
good question. This is a
Yeah.
really good question,
Yeah.
Nathaniel. So, my biggest suggestion for anybody that's getting into, especially the direct to agent stuff, and just for clarification, I do direct to agent. So that means I only talk to agents. So I only target doing outreach to agents.
Hmm.
And I'm focusing on the no equity, low equity list. That's how I'm pulling my stuff. But that's not everybody I talk to.
Right.
That's just where I pull my stuff.
Yeah.
When I have a whole bunch of newbies come in and they're kind of afraid to talk to an agent, because like you said, I mean, it's a higher level conversation. These guys are, a lot of the times expert in their own field.
Yeah.
So what I would recommend to newbies coming in is don't be an expert. Don't pretend to be an expert. I even now when I'm calling an agent, most of the time that first conversation, oh, hey, Mrs. Agent, like, how are you? Oh, hey, so this is actually going to be my first rental in the area.
Hmm.
What do you think of the market? Hey, do you think this would make a good rental? Hey, I want to lean on your expertise.
Yeah.
Like you said you have a bunch of listings around the area. Like, what should I do with this? Let them be the expert. And I love direct agents calls because, like we just said, it's a higher level conversation. You're going to have much more you're going to actually have like a real estate vernacular to to actually, learn from. And
Hmm.
so when you're having these conversations with the agents, it's almost like supercharging your ability to have these conversations in general. So I found that when I'm having these high level conversations with an agent, I'm picking up way more than I was with a direct to seller call. And
Interesting.
when I go back to a direct to seller, when I go back to just normal seller calls, I sound like the freaking expert now because I'm just regurgitating
Hmm.
all these terms, all these words, all this knowledge, all this market knowledge that I've learned from having, thousands of realtor calls. Now I'm just I'm coming off as the expert to the seller. So it's a much different conversation when you're talking to an agent than when you're talking to a seller. But I love the direct agent stuff because A, it's free. B, it's, in my opinion, a way to really, really supercharge and really, expedite that learning process when it comes to having these closer conversations.
One thing that I can see as at least to me, beneficial of calling agents is that you're more likely to talk to somebody. Something that
Yes.
I can't stand listening
Yes.
to the ringtones. Like I'll make calls
Oh.
for an hour sometimes and not talk
Mhm.
to anybody. And you're like, what the heck did I just do for an
Yeah.
hour? So
Yep.
that's pretty amazing. I love that you are leaning, on their expertise, even if they're not necessarily know more than you are, you're letting
Mm.
them, you're letting them feel that way. You're kind of playing to their ego. And so
Yep.
you're probably creating a better relationship that way.
Oh yeah.
Because, people like to feel like they're being heard and they're being listened to. And who's the most important person in the world?
It's
Me.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always
So,
gonna be you. Yep.
yeah.
Hmm.
And so you are strictly calling properties. You're not like just shotgunning every agent that's in your area. You're making calls about specific
No.
properties every time.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I again, that's a really good question because this is a very valid way of building your business too.
Mm.
Um, I actually have there's these two 18-year-old guys that are like local that are just I love them. They're so cool, Cody and Nate. And they have built their entire business by just doing direct to agent outreach, but they don't call on any specific property. They got a list from Astro Blaster of
Mm.
like the 80,000 agents in Arizona, and they are literally just going down the list and they just have 100 dials a day
Yeah.
talking to as many agents as they can. And what they do is they do the shotgun approach.
Yeah.
They just target as many agents as they can and they tell them their buy box, their wholesale buy box. They're doing cash, but basically just telling them, hey, like, hey, if you have anything, send it to me. If you have anything, send it to me. If you have
Yeah.
anything, send it to me. And that's a really great way to do it. It's a little bit less targeted, a
Right.
lot more shotgun approach like we are talking about. What I do is my partner Ryan Strope actually developed a software from
Oh yeah.
it. It essentially does exactly what I was doing that took me 30 minutes every morning. It goes on to PropStream. I do all my filters. I pull my list. I then pull my list into an Excel. In Excel, I organize the data. I put it in the right format. Then I import that into my CRM. It took 20, 30 minutes every morning. And, some mornings it was, more tedious than others, especially if I had callers that want to call with me. I was like, damn, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but like now I got to run back to my computer and just do this simple little 20-minute thing. Ryan came over to my house one day and he was like, hey, can I just watch you work? And he documented everything I was doing and basically wrote a Google script, like a program that that did everything I was doing with a click of a button. So for us, it's much, much easier to pull these lists and market directly to these targeted areas. With a low equity, no equity list, what we're doing is we're marketing to people that have owned the home for less than 3 years but more than 1 year. So they bought in 2020 to 2022-ish, because that's when the rates were really, really great.
Hmm.
And if they're selling now, they probably don't have very much equity.
Right.
So
And
those are
you're
the people that we're targeting, and the conversations that we're having are usually much more targeted as a result. So we're usually having, conversation that's, hey, we're, hey, Mr. Agent, we saw that this has been on the market for a little while. We wanted to write a cash offer, but it looks like they just bought it like a year and a half ago. Like, what's going on here? And,
yeah,
and we're just kind of, that's how we open into the conversation.
yeah. And are you with that window, because we're moving into 2024 now, interest rates have been, higher for the past 12 plus months at this point.
Mhm.
Are
Mhm.
you're going to stick this, it's going to be 1 to 3 years. Well, it's going to be 2 to 4 years coming up, correct? You want to stick in that 2020 to 2022 window.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And again, this is a really good question. You're nailing it. It's very important to note that, when I say, oh, 3 years ago to 2 years ago, this is going to shift as the market shifts.
Right.
There was just now, on I think it was like the 18th of December, I got a little email that said that the Fed has actually just announced that they're going to start, cutting the rates,
Hmm.
which is honestly great news for 99% of people. Finally, I mean, 8.5% is pretty egregious. Most people aren't going to be able to afford a home.
Right.
So I'm very glad that they're cutting rates. To your point, it's going to change the list and the filters that we go after. However, that why I target the 2020 to 2022 bought is because that's not going to change. The people that bought during that time span, as long as they haven't refinanced, which that would be silly to do.
Yeah.
If they haven't refinanced, they have anywhere from a 2.5 to a 4.5% interest rate.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, well, 5.5, maybe six if you're like end of 2022.
Right.
But it's going to change as you go forward. People are going to have more equity. I mean, that list won't change, but going into 2024, now they've had 2 years to pay down the mortgage.
Hmm.
Maybe the prices are going to start trending up just a little bit. People are going to have a little bit more equity to work with. And so those straight sub twos that were you know, so common. I don't want to say common, but much more common than you had seen previously. Those zero down sub twos that are like, hey, you're getting into this thing for a little bit under market, but
Right.
it's, zero to seller, 5 grand to agent, 10 grand to me. Like you're into this $500,000 home for $15,000 with the
Yeah.
3% interest rate. It's not going to happen anymore. We're going to get more and more of these hybrid or seller finance and sub two deals.
Hmm.
That's the way that we've already started to see our business kind of trending.
Okay. Yeah, so for anybody that's unfamiliar out there, like he mentioned, a hybrid is when you're combining the two, you're doing a subject to where you're taking over the existing loan. And then since the seller has equity, which is the difference between the two, the purchase price, the sales price, and the mortgage, you're going to have to come up with a creative way, which is seller financing some of that equity. Otherwise, you'd have to come out of pocket for their
Yes.
difference because they're not
Hmm.
going to just go, oh, well, yeah, I'll just get rid of my equity. No, they want their
No,
equity still. That's why they're selling it.
no.
Uh, so it's interesting to hear that you're already seeing that and you're already making pivots and looking forward to how you're going to handle these situations and navigate these waters as interest rates, are changing. I think I just read that this morning too. They're stagnant
Hmm.
right now, and then they're looking to make some drops in 2024. So yeah, it is exciting for most of people, but for us that we're real estate investors, it hopefully will drive the price of houses up a little bit for us though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm flipping right now, so I won't price.
Exactly. Well, I was about to
Yeah.
say, see,
Yeah.
like it's not so like that's why I said for 99% of people, it's a great
Yeah.
thing. Hey, it's going to open up those different avenues like flipping and
Mhm.
and cash offers are going to become more prevalent again,
Mhm.
which to be honest, I'm excited for because as I'm developing in my, entrepreneur investor journey, I'm starting to realize that there's so much more than just low equity, no equity wholesaling. Like I
Right.
want to buy these properties myself. I want to make a little bit more on the assignment side. So I want to go into cash. I want to, like there's all these different things that open up with the rates rising. So I often think that there's a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of FUD around, changing markets. But those are the people that, are they're still operating, in last year's mindset. They're always going to be like, slow to the draw and they're not going to be able to capitalize. The
Yeah.
best thing about a group like Sub 2 is the fact that you have so many people that are so much smarter than you and I
Yeah.
that are actually, predicting in and trending into 2024 what the market might look like. And
Yeah.
so I don't have to pretend to be a pro.
Right.
I just follow what other people are doing, and like I said earlier, I do a lot of R&D, which is just rip off and duplicate.
Yep.
And this is what I absolutely recommend everybody do for me too. Hey, like when you come and you're calling with me, well, I'm gonna tell you 9 times out of 10, like, look, like I enjoy you having it around, but like go start your own thing, like go build your own, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's and so I think it's really, really important, like a group like Sub 2, to get around people that have a good idea of what the future might look like. Because I certainly am just kind of more reactionary.
Yeah, I'm not I can't look at charts and things like that and read all the articles about what the Fed's doing and things like that. I
No,
can't. I don't have that time. I don't have that bandwidth, and I'm not that smart.
no,
No
dude,
matter what I
no.
tell myself.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time here, Houston. If you had any other pieces of advice for a new person, I almost don't even want to ask that question because I think you've given so much already.
Well,
So
no, no. I mean, I think, okay, the most important thing, guys, is get around people that are doing deals.
yeah,
Get around people that are doing deals.
yeah,
Just get around them. Whether I would always recommend physically because nothing replaces, looking at someone in the face,
yeah,
and shaking their hand and telling them, and committing to them that you want to make this work. Nothing really competes to that. But this is a digital age. I mean, we have so many resources at our hands. Look at the group like Sub 2, and it's amazing to me how many people are actively go giving and are willing to help
yeah,
because guess what? You're bringing them business. You are valuable in and of yourself. You just
mhm,
taking action.
yeah,
So get around people that are doing deals.
yeah,
Absolutely, the one piece of thing. If you are missing anything, if you have not gotten deals, I guarantee you're not talking to enough people that are doing deals.
yeah. And shoving yourself under their wing like you did by
Yep. Yep.
providing,
Really just nuzzle yourself
yeah,
in there. Just make yourself the most important person to
yeah.
this person, to that person.
And
And
don't
you do.
don't ask how you can provide value. See what they're doing and like figure it out how you can provide them
Yep.
value. That is going to be way more valuable than asking because they're going to go, okay, this guy's figured it out. This is somebody that I have room under my wing here. I can
Hmm.
fit them. Um,
Hmm.
so I have a couple, we'll see if they kind of stay on the real estate topic, but they're just a little bit more fun questions.
Hmm.
What's the most exciting thing that you've done lately? So,
Most exciting as far as like real estate goes, last like a month and a half ago, I went to like two back-to-back masterminds. I went to the sub two mastermind, which was
Okay.
just incredible. And
Yeah.
then I went to this Build Wealth Summit mastermind it was about land development and stuff like that. And they were both just amazing, and they were back to back, and it really just got me around so many people that are just doing deals and are so much more successful than I am. And it really puts it into perspective. And I feel like a little while ago I would have seen that and I would have been discouraged.
Mm.
Whereas now that I've changed my mindset, I see people that are much more successful than me, and I'm like, wow, I want to emulate that. I can be like that. And it changes something where I'm like, I can do this. Like I can like that guy, like he's looks like he's wearing two left shoes. Like
Yeah.
how did he figure this out? Like
Right.
I can obviously do this.
Yeah.
And so for me, the most exciting thing was probably those two masterminds, because just getting around those people and like just clearing those like limiting beliefs in my mind, because that's ultimately at the end of the day what brings you success or not is what you believe.
Yeah.
And so getting around people that believe in themselves and me being able to partake in that was probably the most exciting thing I've done in the last like month.
Yeah. I mean, just being part of one mastermind is pretty exciting because, like you're saying, you're just getting around all these people that are, chapters ahead of you. And I think that's something interesting is while these people are ahead of you chapter wise, they're not better than you. They're
No.
not necessarily, I mean, maybe some of them are. They're not necessarily, though, smarter than you. They maybe know more about what they're doing, though, because like you've done for the past 9 months, they've stuck to one darn thing and they've gotten really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you're saying, now I've got this system churning. Now I can go try to see if I can add another thing and start to get good at that too. But no,
Exactly.
don't leave that other thing because
Nope.
it's what's getting your success.
Mm-hmm.
The last question I have for you is a little bit more like kind of not pie in the sky, not woo woo a little bit, but once your time's done here, you've passed away, you've gone to heaven or whatever it is you believe happens after we perish. What do you want to be remembered for on this earth?
Nothing material.
Mm,
I've realized this recently. I'm definitely not a material guy. I'm not driven by finances. I'm not driven by anything. I do want to do one thing, and I truly believe that we are called to leave the earth better than we found it.
mm,
I think that you can interpret that to be so many things, whether that's, impact people and make their lives better, which I love to do. I absolutely love to do. I do that Zoom 4 days a week. But for me, I think I was called to really be a shepherd of the earth. I want to be a billionaire so that I can go and reforest all of Arizona.
mm.
Like in Arizona, like there are washes all over the place. And if you look in India, they're doing these things called permaculture, where they're basically building these rivers back. And that to me is so much more impactful than anything I could have on a person by person basis. I love it. I love conversations with a lot of people, but I'm not a pace. I'm not a pace. I don't need or want or desire to be in front of hundreds of thousands of people. What I really want to do is I want to leave this earth better than I found it. And I grew up in the Arizona desert where it's dry as heck. And then I went to these Indian ruins, and there, dude, the Salt River, which is like in the middle of Arizona, used to be like 1,000 feet wide. But we dammed it up and all this
Uh,
stuff. And we just really changed the total environment. So really what I want to do is I want to leave the earth better than I found it.
yeah.
Above and beyond that, as far as like with my fellow man, I just want to be remembered with fondly. When people think of me, I want a smile to pop across their
Mm,
face because, I impacted them, beneficially.
yeah.
That's when I like close my eyes, like that brings so much joy to me to think that I could have positively impacted people.
Yeah. You just like lift people's spirits just thinking about you. And I know
Yeah, that's, yeah.
we've only spoken a couple times, but You bring a smile to my face when we talk. It's
Oh, that's because
even
you're
easier
so
to.
nice,
Yeah,
Nathaniel. Because
yeah,
you're
that's
so
it. Yeah,
nice. Every time I
yeah.
talk to you, you always just have like this cheesy. Look at that smile.
It's true.
Like you
Yeah,
can't you
it's
can't
hard
like
not to.
not be
Why?
happy looking at that
Yeah.
smile.
What else are we doing otherwise, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
well, I think it's time for us to part. I'm definitely going to link your Zoom, your 4 days a week Zoom in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
description
Please
here.
do.
So anybody who comes across this and, wants to see how somebody who's been doing direct to agent with success for a while now is talking on the phones. And like you said, come in there and maybe take a shot at getting on some calls with the safety net of Houston and his part, his group behind you, that's going to help you, in the chat, kind of, hey, ask these questions, do these things, and then at the end of the call is going to pat you on the back for, taking action. Um, that'll be there for you. And then I know that you have your handle here down below. Is that for Instagram, Facebook, YouTube? What do we got here? Because I'll link
Yeah,
those in the
so
description too.
that's gonna be my Instagram. My
Okay.
YouTube and my Facebook are both under just my full name, Houston
Okay.
Becquet. That House for Houston is my Instagram. And then like I said, I'll post my
Yeah.
link for all my socials and everything.
Cool beans. Well, it was a pleasure, man. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Nathaniel.
Later,
Appreciate
Houston.
you. Mhm.